One. And welcome to another episode of DioTalk. I'm Dio. Let's talk. My guest today, it's a autism expert. Ladies and gentlemen, give a warm welcome to Mbah Marie Clay.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm more than humbled to be here. Like, this means so much to me. So thank you for having me.
Thank you. It's an honor to have you. Quite a little mix up with the time frame, but we're here now, and thank you for your patience. Much gratitude. I can't wait to start this conversation. So you're a autism enthusiast. You focus your program focuses on children with autism in your community and obviously the worldwide as well. How did you start this program?
Okay. To start. I am a Cameroonian. Cameroon is a country in West Africa. We are neighbors with Nigeria. Let me say Nigeria because it's a very popular country. Everybody knows where Nigeria is, or everyone knows the country called Nigeria. So we are their neighbors to the east, and I'm from a town called Bamenda, and my tribe is they call us the Ngembas, but my village, I'm from Bambili, and we say good morning. We say if you want to say hi or say hello, it's Munche de Abula. So yeah.
Oh, good morning.
I'm from Bambili, and yeah. So I've been a teacher for over 10 years now. I started teaching in 2010, and when I started teaching, I just started like when we have a general practitioner in the field of medicine, like
Yes.
you do a little bit of everything. That was how I started my journey. I started off as a teacher, a primary school teacher. Of course, in my country, if you are tagged an elementary school teacher, that means you teach everything. You're teaching maths, you're teaching English, you're teaching French, you're teaching history, you're teaching basically everything. So in the course of that, my first job offer that I got my first job offer as a French and ICT teacher in a primary school in my neighborhood where I used to live in Bamenda. That neighborhood is Konta Mulung. So I used to live there, and that was how I got this job. I went in, I would go from one class to the other. It was a whole school thing.
Mm-hmm.
And what really caught my attention was while in the teachers training college, they never really told us that we were going to meet students that would struggle a lot, that would struggle academically, emotionally, like when you go to school, then you go to, like when you get your training, then you go to start practicing and you meet totally something different. That was my experience. So I discovered that in each class, there was at least 2 to 3 struggling students, and the cause was never known. We never knew whether, okay, this student is struggling because of this or because of that. But obviously, for students who struggled, who had physical disabilities, which is something that we see every day, it was easy to just say, okay, this child is struggling because they're blind. This child is struggling because they're deaf and dumb. This child is struggling because they have their limbs are not really fully developed. But as the years went by, I discovered that there were other students who really struggled, but they did not have any of these physical obvious signs. Then I
Yes.
started asking myself questions like, why are these other students struggling if they don't have these other physical signs? To be honest with you, up until 2015, I never knew of a word called autism. I never knew of it
Wow.
up until 2015. I never knew. But I would always just see students like, but I knew of learning disabilities.
Hmm.
Yeah. I knew because I went to training. So I knew that there were students who struggled to learn concepts, who struggled to understand concepts. I knew of that, but I never knew that there was something called autism. But I knew of Down syndrome, I knew of schizophrenia, I knew of cerebral palsy, all these other disabilities, but I did not know of autism. So when I traveled out of my comfort zone. I don't want to say I traveled out of my country. I traveled out of my comfort zone in 2016, like when I went out of Cameroon, out of Africa, and I moved to a completely new, different place. It was really hard for me. It was difficult, but I thank God for that journey because my contact with autism is thanks to that journey. And that was how I moved over to the Middle East. I discovered that things were done differently. Children who had disabilities, they had,
Hmm.
and the fact that people were more aware of the concept of disability. And there were other disabilities that we knew nothing of back home. And one of those disabilities is autism. So I started reading about autism. I started researching about autism, reading, I read a lot about autism, and I read ways that other people and other countries have been, like, they've been intervening, they've been trying to help uh, 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 children or adults affected with autism. And it's I what one of the things that I really liked and which kept me going in my research was the fact that some of these strategies that they applied were really working, and that the people, like, they got results. They
Yes.
had struggles, but interventions and stuff, they got results, positive results. So I was like, oh, so this is what has been, maybe this is what has been disturbing these other students that I met back home some years back. I think this is the issue. That's how I got into it. And I got my first part-time job to help a child with autism. It was hard because I had no training, no nothing. The only thing that I had was the love in my heart to help struggling children. That was the
Amen
only
to
thing
that.
I had.
Are you
Yeah.
are you still
So
residing? Where are you residing? Did you go back?
yeah, I
Did
yeah,
you go
yeah,
back to? Yeah.
yeah, I've gone back to Cameroon like 3 times. Last December I was in Cameroon, and we are planning something together with other colleagues. We're planning something. We're planning on, we want to do something to help children back home, children who have autism, but we are still trying to get our resources, our everything, our energy, our
Yes.
finance and every
Yes.
other thing together to be able to do something impactful back home. But that is why right now I'm so active online. If you've noticed, I'm so
Yes.
active
Yes.
online, trying to tell people, yo, look, this child is struggling because of this thing. This child is struggling because there's this issue, and if it's fixed, the child will be fine. Because autism is something that it comes in different ways, and trust me that there are people
Yes.
who have autism with very high IQs, and the
Yes.
fact that
Yes.
the signs and symptoms of that autism is in the way, they may not get it unless there's an intervention, there's therapy, to get those things under control.
Yes. I
So,
recently. I recently. My son is autistic. He was
oh,
diagnosed. I think in February. But it was since he was 2 years old, we've been noticing. not common things that are in regular childs. And but due to, although we're over here in America, we also go through our struggles and tribulations. The the doctors and insurance are not that helpful. Um, it took us so long to diagnose him because the insurance and the doctors kept postponing the evaluation. So, example, they gave us appointment for 4 5 months down the road, right? So we had to wait
Yeah.
4 5 months down the road. When the day we came to now give him his evaluation, um, they told us, no, this is not evaluation, this is actual consultation. So now, okay, consultation. Now let's set up the appointment for the evaluation.
Mhm.
Set it up 3 months down the road. 3 months down the road, they reschedule it now. So as you see, there's a pattern. They keep pushing it out. Then the pandemic hit.
Mhm.
I think a year later the pandemic hit. Now everything that we worked so hard to get him evaluated, now it's in February of 2021. 2021, uh, we receive a now it's a video call because due to the pandemic.
Yeah.
We waiting. We log in. We're waiting. Nobody shows up. Nobody
Oh.
answers the call. Turns out the physician who was there no longer works with that insurance or the company or the facility. Nobody told us anything. They came to respond to us
Oh.
after
So sorry.
so many phone calls and emails and phone calls and emails a week later stating, oh, that person no longer works with us. Let's schedule you now to June. And we're in May right now.
Oh.
And this is in
Wow.
February. So, I came
How
out of,
old is he?
he's 4 right now. He's 4.
Okay.
So
Mhm.
me and my wife came out of pocket to actually get him a proper evaluation. So now, once I got him the proper evaluation, now the insurance and the hospitals and doctors are willing to work now. But yet now, although he has evaluation, they're still rescheduling. Now because of COVID protocol, now everything it's so long, the process is even longer. And it's becoming difficult because now my son is 4 years old. And if this continues
Yeah,
now,
and he.
yeah. So I as a parent, I understand your worries and concern and your efforts, which are much appreciated. So we have a mutual friend that recommended you, which is Gabe Rivera, and I quick gravitated to what he was saying and jumped on it, and now you're here at the podcast to be able to explain what you're trying to do and what you're trying to build to help these kids in need.
Okay, yeah. Actually, I'll be a bit like more about Africa, but other countries and other
Yes.
people can as well benefit, because the whole idea is this: autism is something that when we tackle it, we help the kids whilst they're still very young. Like when the iron is still hot, you can shape
Yes.
it.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. Now when you were like what you just said now, like they keep dragging and dragging, and that is the problem that parents face. The fact that they have to drag and drag. Yeah, sometimes it's necessary, because with autism you can't just observe a child within 6 months and just say and conclude. You
Mm.
need at least 2 years to see that this behavior is consistent, this behavior is reoccurring, it's occurring every day in the child's life, and it's affecting the child negatively, because there may be a situation where there's a behavior, but it's not affecting the child negatively. That's how the child develops. You
Mhm.
understand? Like there's a talkative child in the house. The child talks. Blah, 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 blah. You're in the kitchen. Blah, 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 plays a lot. That is how the child, or that is how God has made the child to develop. You
Yes.
understand? But if it's a case of autism, it's different, and you need time and certain factors, certain things put together to be able to conclusively say that this child is on the spectrum and needs intervention. That's why some parents would sue, saying that, oh, my child was wrongfully diagnosed, my child was. And there's something that I always tell parents, because I know exactly how you feel now, especially it's your son, maybe it's your first child, you feel frustrated and all that. I have seen parents like that. The family we are currently working with, I don't want to blow things out of proportion, but I can confidently say that the dad is, now that I really see the dad smiling all over the place, after we've worked with that family for like almost 2 years or so, and the son is really, like when you start seeing improvement, you start seeing changes, the dad is quite happy. And I know this struggle for a fact, that parents of children on the spectrum go through a lot psychologically, but they would not say it. All they just want to do is to be silent and just find ways or find solutions to help their children. But what I can say to parents who are struggling like you is that if these people keep pushing and pushing, what you can do is get the resources and start working with your child before the diagnosis. If the child struggles with communication, maybe the speech is not there, make it your job. That's your child. Make it your job. A word a week.
Yes.
Every week, a word a week. You put a card on the wall. Look, this week, this is our word. The word this week is hello. The whole week, hello, 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 hello. And above all, it's love. It's love. Autistic kids and other children with special needs, what they really need is love. They don't need all the toys and all the fancy things that we want to buy for them and the lights and all those things. What they really need is to really see that these are my parents. Even though I have these other behaviors, they love me. Even though I am weird, they love me. Even though I talk a lot, they love me. Even though I break the things in the house, they still love me. They would rebuke me, but they still love me. So it's about loving them first, then helping them yourself. Help your child yourself, because June may come. That's the sad truth. June may come and they'll give you another flimsy excuse.
Yes.
Of maybe we can't, maybe. So pick it up. That's your child. You can pick it up. And I don't know, get an RBT and just try to see. I don't know. It's just, I don't know how it works in America, but just try to do something for your child while you're waiting for
me and my wife, we are very, very hands-on. It mentally, you are correct. It is draining, and nobody knows. We're very silent. When it comes to our son,
let me interrupt you. There's something I always tell parents of children who have autism. Like when two faulty genes come together and we have sickle cell.
Yes.
When two really smart people come together, they may have autism. I say this, I'm scared to say it because I may get caught up somewhere and they say, why do you keep saying this? Like, how can you prove that? I don't have any proofs anywhere. But I always say this, when two really smart, intelligent people come together, there's a probability that you will have something like that.
Yes, and now that I'm doing the research and I highly believe that I have autism.
And that's because you're smart.
Mm-hmm.
You're smart.
Yeah. But going back to what you were saying,
and you should be happy. You should be happy.
Yes,
you should be, because you should be happy because
like my majority, like my wife and my wife, our problem is not our son. The greatest gift that God has given us is our son, and we are willing to do the work to help our son. We're two individuals that abandoned a 9 to 5 to become entrepreneurs. So the main focus is help our son. Our problem is not our son. That's man, he is amazing. He is breathtaking. Our problem is
I can
society.
already tell.
Our problem
I
is
can
society.
already tell.
Society would criticize and judge our children as they judge me growing up and not able to
Yeah,
understand the the situation, and rather
exactly.
accept the fact that we all are different. They rather ignore the fact we're different and force their harmful ways on us, on people, on children.
Mhm.
And it's been, when it comes to our family, it's difficult for them to understand what we go through because they don't want to understand. They see it one way and
Mhm.
that's it. um, and it's been, when it comes to the outside world, it's been difficult, because we're
I
people that
understand.
we don't. I don't have to go and sit down and explain to you my son. You know, he's different, and it's clearly shows that he's different. You either
Definitely.
accept who he is, that he's different, or get out the way. But home, man, home, it's amazing. It's difficult, because it's not easy having a child that's autistic, but it's amazing. Although he's teaching me more than I'm teaching him.
Exactly. Exactly. And that is why I would tell you now, be strong for your son. No matter what the stairs, people are gonna look at him like, why is this child like this? Why is he behaving like this? Why are these other children doing it this way? And why is he trying to do it this other way? You have to support your son. You have to let him know that no matter what, come rain, come shine, that is the support that maybe some of us didn't get growing up.
Yes.
With those, I struggled with communication and socialization. Like I struggled. I've not been diagnosed, and I don't want to do it, but I struggled a lot with communication, socializing, and even processing obvious things that are just there that everybody would just process and understand. I'm just like, but there were things that before something happens, I would figure it out. I would be like, and when I tell people, they're like, "Oh, you're such a witch child. Oh, you're saying things like it was really hard. It's hard, but I always tell parents of children who have autism that autism is just something like you have sickle cell, like you have all these other struggles that humans have. But the difference with autism is that it's something that if we manage when the child is still very young, we are gonna get really the output or the outcome. Trust me that your son, if you really stand by him and don't bring people that would judge him close to him and really, stand by him and support him, you will not believe what he will do in the days ahead.
Yes, I'm
He
into
would,
that.
I don't know. I don't know how to say this, but don't feel discouraged. And even if June comes and they keep pushing, just try to find ways. I'm here. You can ask me. If I may ask, what is does he struggle with? Like, what are the things he really
Well,
struggles with?
right now he's nonverbal. He's
Okay.
nonverbal. He's very his mechanicals. He's very advanced than regular kids. Like he's really fast, faster than really regular kids. He's nonverbal. He has high sensory, and he's diagnosed with mild was HTD, HTD, HTD.
ADHD,
Yes,
attention deficit. Yeah,
yes,
that that attention deficit, to me, I don't see it as attention deficit. I see it as a situation where he can the words are not there, so the action takes the place. So
yes,
he used action in place of those words, and of course we would diagnose it as
yes. He's
HD.
he's very
Yeah.
he's he's very brilliant. Not because he's my son, because I have a nephew My sister has a son, Joseph. He's very brilliant. He's very brilliant. Like the mind of that little boy, it's if you get to able to spend some time with him and not just play, just watch him, watch how life happens, right? And you see the beauty of it, but yet it's mind-blowing because something a child had so much intellectual smartness than a regular person wouldn't have, but yet once
Yeah.
again society would judge him, and but he's beautiful in every uh meaning of the word.
Yeah, and I think it's me, it's you, it's people like us who understand what this means. We have to, I don't know how we are going to do it, but we have to tell the world that look, because this child is 4 and thinks or acts like he's 10 doesn't mean the child is bad or that the child is weird or that you should reject the child. It simply means that you have to get you have to get resources together, you have to manage the situation so it doesn't go out of hand. And the fact that the child is 6 and is acting like he's 2 does not mean the child will never grow up.
Mm-hmm.
That's just the point. It just simply means that they may have, because there are children on the spectrum who are 8 years old, but their speech is 4 years old. Like the girl I'm working with, her speech is way bad. But there are other aspects of her life that I see they are more advanced than her speech.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just for your son, figure out the areas. Yeah, the speech is not there, but there's something else. How can we put the speech and the action, the excess action, and try to get a balance?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and try to get a balance. And like I said, as a dad, you should do a word a week. I always tell dads this because it works with dads. The children believe a lot in that. A word a week, a word a week. So the first week you could go with that. The whole week the word is that. So if he cannot actually, if he can't say the word that, there's a sound like when you murmur.
Mm-hmm.
You could start with that. Mm, mm. You go from there. It may get to a point where he opens his mouth. Nah, nah, nah. You go from there. So just gradually, while you're waiting for the official diagnose and all these other things that they have to do, just try to do things with him. And if he's hyper, get him involved in activities. I'm sure you're doing it already. Just get him involved with building, doing stuff, building tables, building beds, woodwork.
Yes, yes.
I don't know, just
And
buy
those
stuff from the, yeah.
those things actually help him because it's able to his mind focus on something, and then later on it starts developing. And
Yeah.
In Africa, is it common for a child to have autism? Like, do you know the exact percentage?
Well, I can't really say the percentage for Africa because we have some statistics on Google, but I don't trust those statistics. And these
Yes.
statistics are for different countries. I don't trust those statistics because in my country, such children are still kept in dark rooms. Like they keep them like they're witches, they're
Mm,
wizards. Some they use them for rituals, so we can't say for a fact that okay, in Cameroon we have out of 10 children we have 2 autistic kids, or out of 25 million people living in Cameroon we have 100 children living with autism.
yes.
To me, I don't consider those statistics because the cases have not been diagnosed. We don't even have autism diagnosed centers in Cameroon. We have hospitals, we have mental health hospitals, but we don't have clinics that are specialized clinics that handle autism diagnosis in Cameroon. So
Wow.
I can't just sit here and give you a figure. No, I'll be telling a lie. But we
No, I
have mental
understand.
hospitals like the famous Hôpital Jamot. It's a very big hospital in Douala. Yeah. It's a really famous hospital in West Africa, and they work with people who have mental health, and so it's the statistics. I don't give statistics. Each
Yes.
time I go on a Zoom or a meeting or a live program, I don't give statistics because I don't trust those statistics.
Yes.
So
Yes.
I don't even,
I,
yeah.
I agree. I agree. So talk to me a little bit about your organization so that the listeners and viewers could better understand and even try to help out where your movement, because your movement is very powerful.
Yeah. Um, it's Happy Childhood Foundation. It's actually a foundation under Future Ark Learning Center. Future Ark Learning Center is a learning center. It's an inclusive learning center that will open in Cameroon in 2023. But we are currently doing the campaign now because we are still putting our documents together to get it, to do it legal, and to have a place where we can operate and stuff like that. So, but our foundation has been registered. It's Happy Childhood Foundation. And that foundation is, we have two missions. The first mission is to be able to get humans to understand that adult humans are greatly affected by what they went through as children. That is our first mission. We want to get people to understand that the foundation of every human has a lot to do with their adulthood. When you're a child, you're being raped, you're being abused by your own parents, you will never have a great adulthood. If you grew up in a family where the dad is constantly beating the mother right in your presence and doing all these awful things, and you're watching as a child, those are things that will stay with you forever. And if you grow up as an adult, it will only take the grace of God for you to get rid of those things and not fall back and do same like your dad or your mom. So one of our mission, the first one, is to get humans to understand that adults are what they were as kids. That is our number one goal. And how do
That's
we
an amazing
intend to
goal.
do this? Yeah, so how do we intend to do this? We want to do seminars, we want to do programs, we want to do campaigns, and then we want to, in the long run, get kids who go through stuff like that and get them rehabilitated, counseled, and and reintegrate them. Our second goal is disability, and we are focused on autism. And our focus in autism is early intervention. Early intervention. When a child is 3, 4, 5, 6, and you notice this, the developmental milestones are not in accord with the child's development, do something about it. Even if it's not autism, just do something about it. Don't sit and wait and say, oh, the child, because in my country, that's what parents do. They just relax and wait
And
and say,
hope that it
no,
gets
oh, this
better.
child, good, and hope that it gets better, but it gets worse. And you know that when a human being, a young human, is not talking, they accumulate a lot. For example, when we were younger, when you're angry, like when you're angry at home with your family, with your siblings, the fact that you can express yourself, you're like, I don't like what you did to me today. I did not eat my food. I did not. The complaint, it gets out, like the energy goes out. It, you know.
Yes, yes,
But for
yes.
for non-verbals, that are just there, it builds, it keeps, it's building, and it will get to a point where poof, it's an explosion. So that is why we insist on early intervention for children who are suspected to be on the spectrum, early intervention for them is very, very crucial, so that it doesn't bring in other things that will
Yes.
add to the autism, like depression,
Anger.
and anger, anxiety, frustration, all these other things. That because when a
My
child is on this,
son suffers highly anxiety. Like you see his knuckle, he bites his knuckle when he's anxiety, and
that's
his hands bendito,
communication.
like his hands get sweaty, and
Oh,
you see him try to struggle and say something or when he wants something, and he struggled, and then boom, he explodes because
that's
he's trying to communicate, and sometimes uh I'm guilty of not able to understand what he wants, and that
no,
it breaks my heart
don't.
because
I understand.
all you want for your child is the best. It's truly the best,
Yeah,
and
I understand.
it's difficult.
I I understand, but this is what I would tell you. I would say it again: be strong for him. When those things happen, I know you may want to rush into your room and break down in tears and all that. I understand, but you have to be strong for him. You have to get a system of communication at the moment with him. I don't know, like it's for sometimes you just have to get hard. You have to be
Yes.
firm. You have to get to a point where you're like, yo, buddy, if you don't communicate with me, I can't help you. I need you to talk. And there's one thing I always tell, which is something that I have tried and it's worked for me. It's worked. The autism cases that I've intervened for, I've tried this and it has really worked. It's not learned anywhere. It's not written in any book, but maybe it's written in Mbah Marie Claire's book.
Yes.
But there's this one thing I always say: if you're a religious person, it's God. Don't blame yourself for anything. Don't see yourself as a failure. Don't see it as my child is like this because of me. You did not create yourself. Someone else did. Someone else did, and not you. And God first. Pray with your child. The second thing is talk to him. You think that he's not listening, or he's not getting you, or he's not understanding you. Talk to him. Like when you watch a movie and it gets to this moment where it's really intense, and the in the flow of emotions of, like, you hold him in your hand, look him in the eye, talk to him. You're my son. I love you, and I want you to talk to me. I'm here for you. I love you. Your mom and I love you. We want the best for you. Give yourself a chance. I don't know, like, talk to us. Tell us what you want. We are here for you. We love you.
Yeah,
You
and
could do that, like,
that's basically our day to day. That's what we do.
yeah, yeah. Really talk to him every day. It's working. If that's what you've been doing, it's
Yes.
working. You may not see it now, but it's working. And if you consistently do that, by the time he's 10, you would notice that if he gets to a point where you stop doing that, he would be the one to do it. He may want to do it. He would be like, if you get up one morning and you're like, you don't want to do that, he
Hmm.
will walk up to you and would want to do that. So talk to him constantly, every day. Tell him the world is beautiful. You are living in the world. The sky is your limit. The sky is your limit. You're brave. You're
Yeah, inspire
smart.
him, lift him up.
Yeah, yeah. No matter what you're going to, I do that a lot with my student. The student I'm currently working with, I do that a lot with her. And one thing with autistic people is that they don't want to hurt people. They don't want to see people hurt. That's why some of them would rather stay in their corner. They just want to be left alone because they don't want
Yes.
to see people hurt. They don't want to do things that will hurt people or say things that will hurt people. And with the girl that I'm working with, one of her biggest problem is that she doesn't want to get it wrong. So she's tensed when you ask her to do something. She's tensed. She's stressed up. So what I always do is that calm down, relax. It's not the end of the world. It's nothing. Even if you get it wrong, we can do it all over again. I know you can do it. So sometimes when I say these things to her, she would just smile and get back to her. So autism, it's something that I believe, and the truth is, every human has an aspect of autism in them. Every human. There is no human without communication struggles, socialization struggles, addictive behaviors, both natural and artificial, maybe alcohol and all this. Every human has an addictive behavior or an addiction. Information processing. When we were in school, you would say, yeah, of course, you struggled maybe with math, you struggled maybe with English. Those are some of the things that autistic people struggle with. And the difference now is they have more than two or more than one of these things that they struggle with. They may struggle with communication. They may struggle with, they may have an addiction. They may have socialization struggles. Now, when you combine it, that is why your son's diagnosis may take a while. They have to see all these things consistently play out in his life. So, yeah, June will come. You will go for the diagnosis. But one thing I would also say is don't rush it. Just if they say, okay, give us 6 months to observe, it's okay.
But that's the thing. Nobody's observing. They're not. They're not. How do I put it? They're not putting efforts to evaluate him. He has a diagnosis. That's the one in June. I think is the insurance one. But I took out my money. I took him to a special doctor that does those types of evaluations, and we were able. So he's diagnosed. My problem is the system don't fail you, people fail you. So the people who are in the system are the one failings. So I'm relying on people that are not on their A game as they're supposed to in these situations, relying on them so I can help my son. And that's what honestly frustrates me the most, and my wife as well, and any parent. So I'm doing something about it. My wife and I are doing something about it. We are hands-on, because your child will go as far as you go. And if you're not willing to go far or all the way to the finish line, your child's going to see that. And, I am married to a great woman, an amazing woman that, right now we're holding our hands. We don't know how to do this, but we're doing this, and we're going to that finish line because, like I said before, your child only goes as far as you go. And, the system is faulty due to not having the right individuals doing what it's supposed to. So I'm not relying on anybody. I'm gonna do this.
Have you sorry to interrupt you,
not a problem.
Have you tried like an RBT service provider? Those but RBT services I don't really, but at some point it helps somehow. But RBT does more of like robots, like you have to condition the child and stuff like that. But you can give it a try. I don't know, you can maybe ask for advice here and there and how to go about it. Because in my practice, I actually put it in a little bit of RBT because I actually did a training in RBT. So I do like a mix of it. So I take certain aspects of RBT. There are days when I would use RBT. There are days when I would not use RBT at all. I would just use the African way.
Yes. Do
There are
you
days when I would use,
yes. Do you have a
yeah.
like a when you're contacted by, any parent that's approaching you to, help their child with autism, do you have a certain curriculum or, a certain steps that, all right, so we're going to start here, or do you first meet with the child and then decide on what step to take to help him progress?
Okay, yeah. When I before I in 2019, I worked with a boy. He is American as well, Christopher. They're Syrian, but the boy, I think they're Americans,
Yes.
and he was not diagnosed, but it was obvious that he was on the spectrum, but he was not officially diagnosed. So what I did was when the parents reached out to me, I went in to their home. I lived with them for 3 days. I observed his behavior with the parents. Then I went to school. I observed the behavior in school, which are two different behaviors
Hmm.
that he emits. And then I also observed his behavior with the dad. I observed his behaviors with the mom and then the grandmom. And I noticed that with the grandmom, it's just baby, 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 petting, petting.
Yes.
With the mom, he challenges the mom. With the dad, he has like he brings in, like man to man, like he would bring in this new strategy today to tease the dad, and if he doesn't get his way, he surrenders. And then the next day he will try again. So, but in school, it was a catastrophe. Like he would
I
want to
can
fight with
imagine.
every child, get his way. So those that is like when parents come to me, I tell them first we have to observe. Observation is the first thing. If it's a diagnosed case and I'm coming to intervene, or you want someone to come and intervene, first thing to do, let the person observe for at least a month. Observe and give you report. The next thing to do is, if the behavior challenges are there and it's very destructive, the first plan of action is to intervene on the behavior. If the child is fond of maybe self-harm, harming others, the first thing to do is to get that under control, is to manage that behavior. That is the first thing you have to do. While you're managing the behavior, you have to also observe and see the areas of strength, like academic areas of strength. Is he good in drawing? Is he good in math? Is he good in science? What does he like to do most? Does he like to color, write, paint, dance, drum? Those are some of the things that you can actually bring in while you're intervening on the behavior. You can bring in those activities to be able to have a balance, So that's what I tell parents. For parents who have children who have been diagnosed, we go with that. For parents who have children who have not been diagnosed, we also observe. Then, after observation, I always advise them it is better to go in for diagnosis, talk with a specialist, then we can start our intervention. But this parent was so adamant, like he refused. He was like, no, 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 my child is fine. My child is okay. I'm not
Was in
going in for
denial.
any diagnosis. Yeah, total denial. So what I did was I just started intervening. The first thing, I started with the behavior. I started intervening with the behavior in school. And then I gave them some strategies and some things that they could do at home to also intervene with his behavior at home. I don't know, the parents, it got to a point where I don't want to sound a bit, but it got to a point where it's like they were embarrassed that their child was different and that Black woman was, you know how this, you know how
Yeah,
some of these
yeah,
things, I don't
yeah.
want to go to that side, but they were really cool. They were nice. They paid me duly. They were great. They were really nice people, but I understand their culture, some cultures still see this as a
Yes,
taboo. They still see
yes,
this as,
yes.
yeah. So I understand. I understand. But what I actually did was I really did work with the class teacher in school to intervene on his behavior, because academic he did not struggle with his studies. He struggled with socializing with the other kids. Like, he wants to be in control. He wants to be the lead. When it's time, like if we do like uh playstations, like if we do
Mm-hmm.
playstations, like if we put station 1, you have to stick papers. Station 2, you have to pick a ball and put it in the basket. Station 3, you have to kick a ball. And it goes chronologically, but he doesn't, autistic people don't like, sometimes they don't like to follow the rules. They want to break the
Yes,
rules.
yes.
So it was really hard for him to follow rules, to take turn and stuff like that. We had to work a lot on that. So I drew up a plan each month. I would come up with a plan. Maybe this week we are working on turn taking. The other week we are working on sharing, maybe writing materials like pens. At that time there was no corona. So yeah,
Mm-hmm.
sharing learning materials like pens, books. The other time we would draw up a plan,
How
asking or
how
requesting.
has how has it affected your program with due to the coronavirus and the
Yeah,
pandemic?
yeah. It I would rather say that it has not really, like, I'm one of those people that will say thank God for social distancing, thank God for homeschooling.
Yes.
But I don't like corona. No to corona, but thank God for what corona has brought to us. Because my students needed a situation where she would be with someone that she trusts, someone that she really feels comfortable around. Yeah. Because one of the things that the mother told me once, maybe she didn't even know that she said something that really meant a lot to me. She was like, Claire, do you know that you're actually the first person that my daughter has been able to actually sit and study with? And all this was thanks to corona, because we really had time. I had a one-on-one time with her
Yeah.
to really stay home, and we do online study away from the others. We did, I did a lot of counseling. We did a lot of, I did a lot of talking. I did a lot of behavior modifications, one-on-one behavior modifications with her. And right now, I can confidently tell you that she's comfortable in class. The only thing that I really struggle with her now is her lessons. She struggles to understand concepts and stuff. But her behavior, she's fine. So I would say that this is one thing that Corona has brought to my life, which
Mm-hmm.
has made my life better. But to every good thing, there's a bad thing. But the bad thing that Corona has, I don't know. Is there any bad thing? The only bad thing I would say is that going out, because I really wanted to go out with her and to clubs, to weekend activities, to cinemas, and just so she can interact with other
Yeah, other
children her
people. Yeah.
age. Yeah, that's one thing that is missing. But every other thing is okay. Hopefully, this will go away and we will get
Yes.
back to our normal lives.
In your professional opinion, um, what would help a child uh tackle this social issue of not be able to be you know it's difficult for them to be sociable. What can a child do or a parent do to help them tackle that issue?
Yes. Um, Autism, there are individuals who actually are on the spectrum and very, very sociable. But there are
Mm,
some who just want to be left alone.
yes,
What I
I
would
am
say
one of
is,
those people. It's difficult for me.
yeah, and it's not like they want to be left alone. They don't want a crowd. They just want one friend is enough. Like
Yes.
just one person that they can really trust is enough. That's one. So what I would tell parents is that just get that one person that you feel your child is comfortable with, your child trusts and feels safe around, and then the rest is history. Because my student, she's also that type. She doesn't want to be, but there is one amazing thing about her. She likes to be around people, just listening to them talk, but she doesn't want to say anything. She would listen. Sometimes I see her smiling. I don't know if she understands what they're saying, but I just see her smiling along and she would never say anything. Then one thing I also noticed is that she has like 5 girls that she's always around them. And these 5 girls, there's one particular girl that I noticed that she really likes. And
Mhm.
each time she comes in class, she would want to greet her. She'd say, Farida, good morning. Just so to parents who have this socialization issue, who have children who are on the spectrum, who have socialization struggles, the one thing I would say or I can advise is that be keen, be observant, look at that one person that your child is comfortable with. It could be within the family circle or outside the family, and make sure your child is safe around that person. Technology is well advanced now. You can get them a watch that you monitor their movement and all that. You can get their phone connected to yours,
Mhm.
and you know, okay, on this day, this my child is with this person in this location. It is monitored. I have everything recorded on my phone in case of any emergency and stuff like that. Don't exceed their level of socialize. Don't When I say don't exceed, if your child is that kind or that type who wants to be in a less crowded place, let them be. Let them be. But from time to time, you can bring in, just once in a while, just once in a while. Don't just, but give them that time and space and encourage them each time you see that they are around someone and they are comfortable with that person. Always encourage that relationship. That's what I can
Yes, I've noticed.
say.
I noticed with my son, me and him have a lot of similarities. A lot. Um, we've gone to family gatherings, and when it gets too crowded, he tends to, not isolate himself, but just slowly move out. And I tend to do the same.
Yeah.
So when me and him are, it's like we don't understand. We're not talking, but we're able to gravitate when those moments occur. Me and him just, go to the corner. My wife is a little bit more sociable, but me and him just, little by little, start, walking away, disappear without nobody she
Yeah.
noticing. I I
Yeah.
I'm not sure if it's uh my upbringing, but I detest of being around a large crowd.
Yeah.
I can't do it to myself. I can't, and it's something I do subconsciously. I just slowly isolate myself, and also like I my wife wants me to be a little bit more sociable, but I just some days I find myself um trying to be sociable, and I have to catch myself because I it's like I generally I don't care to be sociable, And then there's days
Yeah.
I wake up, all right, let me try. And I find myself trying a little too much. Like with me, it's no balance.
Yeah.
It's either I go in or I don't go in. And once I realize I'm doing too much, I'm like, okay, I can't do this. And I step back. And now I isolate myself again. It's for me, it's
It's
really a hit.
okay.
It's a hit or miss. I recently started um doing I'm not sure if you're aware of jiu-jitsu. It's the martial art type of martial arts. So
Mhm.
it's some days I do my best and be sociable. I'm just forcing myself to because I'm just. And other days I
Mhm.
just I walk in and I go to a corner and I just I sit there, change of clothes, and wait till the class starts. So they it's like they don't know how to read me, but yeah, like I have this flaw that I have this flaw, right? Or maybe it's not a flaw that I do not care if people are like me or not. It's I
Yeah.
don't I only care because I got married and in order for you to get
You
married
should go for diagnosis. You should go for diagnosis because those are the exact, like, you don't care, but the only time you want to care is that, like, I don't want to hurt people. That's the only time you want to care, right? Like,
Mhm.
if you're doing something that you feel somehow that, okay, this thing is gonna hurt people, but if
Yes.
it's about people's opinion about you, whew, no, you
Yeah,
don't care.
no. I don't
That's
lose sleep over
that's
that.
yeah, that's very common with people on the spectrum. That's a very common behavior with them. But I would say that it just boils down to understanding. If humans can get to a point where they understand these things, there will be no problem in the autism community. We would rather struggle to help them to be able to maybe communicate better, socialize better, instead of giving them those weird stares and
Hmm.
complaints and what's discouraging words. We would get to a point where we're like, okay, this person doesn't want to talk too much. How can we do to get him in? Like, I have this boy that
Mm.
my colleague is working with. He is so not a social person. So each time he sees me, he knows that I will disturb him. So there are days when he comes to disturb me. That way I don't do it. So he would quickly do it, and then he runs away. He knows that, okay,
A
this is
smart
what Miss
guy.
Claire does. Yeah, this is what Miss Claire does. So let me do it first, then I go away. She will leave me alone. Then I'll be like, then there are days that maybe I'm so busy in the morning and I forget, I don't do it. He would just come around to check and just look at me and be like, okay, maybe this woman will leave me alone today. Then the moment he's leaving, I'm like, Colin. He's like, he would come back and just, then I'm like, okay, go. So I always take him unawares. Like when when he least expects it, that's when I do it. But what he does now is when he sees me, he just comes up to me. Let's do it
Mhm.
fast so I can leave.
Hi. Hi.
So
Yeah.
it's
Get over with it.
it's
Yeah.
just, yeah, so it's just getting to a point where we understand them. And if people in your community understand that your son, it's because his brain sees the world different, his brain process things different, his brain, it's because this is how he is, this is what he likes, this is where he feels the most comfortable. I think he will not have any problem because every person in your community who is used to your son will try to find a way that they can interact with him, that he will not feel uncomfortable, that he will not feel like, if people in your community know that your son is nonverbal and that he struggles with his words, and that each individual will be like, okay, I'm going to just create a word that each time I see this boy, I'm going to say that word to him. And 10 people in your community, you have 10 words already, plus two from you
Yes.
and your wife. 12 words already. You say these words to him every day in a year, there's a chance that he will keep at least 3 of those words. He may not say them, like pronounce it like the way it should be pronounced, but he may make sounds that gravitates towards those words that
Yeah, he was able to
he's
recognize them.
yeah. So it's about understanding. I talk a lot about understanding because in Africa, it's maybe in America, in Europe, people understand
No,
because of
not here. No,
the level
it's
of
too good to be true to be here.
really, because
Yeah.
in Africa is horrible. And the bad thing in Africa is that, like I said before, that like when an SS come together and they have like a sickle cell, autism are two smart people that will come together, and there's a chance that.
Well,
But
here,
in Africa,
yeah, here,
in Africa, okay, in Africa, what happens is when I was in Africa, when I was growing up in Cameroon, most times you would see a family where the dad is an engineer, the mom is a doctor, and they would have like 4 kids. And out of these 4 kids that they have, there's one who is on the spectrum, and the other 3 are just fine. So what they usually say was, oh, this is the one that they sold to have family money. This is the one that they sold out to have family money. They gave this to the gods. They gave this to the gods of their family. They sold this one in the shrine to have money. And that is something that has happened to many families. Families where the mom is a doctor, the dad is an engineer. The mom is a lawyer, the dad is a successful businessman. They would say, oh, this is the one they sold so that business will flourish. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying,
yeah,
but
I
in
do. I
Africa,
do.
there are rituals where they would sacrifice like a human being to get something. Those things happen in Africa. But I pray that Happy Childhood Foundation will get to a point where we can explain to people that some of these things don't happen because it's a family ritual that has been performed on that child. It has actually happened because these are two smart people who have come together, and because of their gene, whatever, I don't know. It's like you take nice and put it together.
So in Africa, they'll see something like that, and they'll say it's like some mythical curse or something like that.
Exactly.
Instead of being two actual people that are smart come together, and sometimes when these effects that may happen, they see it more as your child is cursed. I mean, yeah, it's worse. In America, I think in America it's a little too understanding nowadays. Everything over here is very sensitive. So even though the truth it may be needed is not accepted because the truth could be too too powerful that it will hurt somebody's feelings. So the culture out there is very sensitive. You can't give your opinion or your thought because if you're quick too, you'll be, especially if you're in the higher hierarchies, if you're famous, if you're, you got that blue check mark on social media and you're very active, you see something that will hurt that could be facts, it could be truth, it could even the truth could be needed. You'll say something that make somebody feel different, you're quickly crucified. So maybe in America, it is some type of understanding, but yet a little too much. Like example, and I could be wrong, and this is where I'm glad I'm talking to you and see, get your professional opinion. My son, right? I'm trying to raise my son to prepare him for the world because I know if I raise him, think with the mentality of the world needs to prepare for him, that's going to be unacceptable. Because there are going to be people in this world that, frankly, are not going to give a crap. So in order for him to be, in my thought process, in order for him to be okay, he needs to prepare what the true reality is rather than the reality we prepare for him, because he's never going to be happy. It's going to be, it's going to be difficult for him.
Well, but the truth is, as he grows, okay, he's a being. He's a
Yes.
human being on its like he's a being, and in him there's a greater being. So as the years unfold in his life, there are certain challenges that on his own he will overcome them. Yeah, there are certain things that he will overcome. There are certain fears, and one of the things that autistic people really struggle with is fear. They're scared. They really have this, especially if the fear is coming from external forces or people have subjected them to situations and things that really creates fear in them. Like if he wants to ride a bicycle and then you're not really there for him, and he gets to collides with a car, it creates even more fear. So these are things that he will overcome them by himself. You cannot enter in him to take out the fear, but you can stand there, give him the push that he needs to overcome them. So what I can say to you is that when it comes to certain things that are intrapersonal, leave it to him. He will overcome them by himself. And it's just that Corona is here, and the fact that it's America, because in Cameroon, I've seen autistic cases that the children actually, they outgrew certain fears, they outgrow certain difficulties just by interacting with other children in the neighborhood. If you've been to Africa, I don't know if you've been to Africa or
no, I have not the pleasure yet.
Yeah, if you've watched documentaries about Africa and how we really live in a community. Like we have this community life where children from this household would go to this other household, get children from this other household, and they would go to the stream, fetch water, they would play football in the community field together. They would do a lot of things as kids in the community together. And this is where I say that this is one tool that Africans have that can really help children who are on the spectrum. It's already helping them. It's just that we don't know it yet. Yeah, we don't know that this tool that we have is working, is helping those struggling children, especially with socialization. Imagine that if your son was in Africa, there are certain things that he would just do, like he would go out to play with his friends. He would go out to play football. They would go to fetch firewood. They would do all this other stuff that little boys do around the neighborhood. They would ride their bikes together. They would skip ropes together and do all these other things that boys do. And in the course of doing that, there are certain things that he will be able to overcome. Like certain fears. Like when you're a teenager, you're with your friends and they keep telling you, look at that girl, go try. Your parents are not there to tell you, go and tell that girl, but so as kids, and this is something that Africa has, and that is something that we really want to remind Africans, that this community life that we have, where our young kids interact among themselves on the street, in the neighborhood, it actually helps children who are on the spectrum, especially those children who struggle with fear and socialization. It helps them to socialize. It helps them to overcome certain fears. So for your son, there are certain things that he will have to work on it by himself. You just have to stand there with tears in your eyes All you have is prayer in your heart and just thank God. Just
I agree 100% with that. I agree.
yeah.
I think you're absolutely right. Fear, I live my day every day in fear, but that fear is what drives me to do things I've never done in my life.
Yeah.
So I whew, you hit it right in the nail. I understand exactly what you're saying.
Yeah.
So how long have you been you said you've been doing this since 2010?
2010, yeah.
2010.
2010. Yeah.
And how throughout the how big your organization has grown within those years?
Well, I've been teaching since 2010, but picking up the fight with autism started in 2016.
Mm-hmm.
Remember, I said up until 2015, I didn't even know that a word as autism
Exit, yeah.
existed. Yeah. So it's 2016 that I started. And how did I even start? I have this group on my Facebook, Mbah Marie. It is Marie Claire Home Tutoring. I created that group just to upload learning materials, videos for people back home to come and watch and just go and repeat, like how do I say it? Like
Mm-hmm.
redo what they've watched,
Yeah, yeah.
help their students. That was the initial plan that I had for that. I wasn't even thinking of, oh, so I was just thinking of my 9 to 5. I just do my work. When I come back on weekends, I just upload those videos just to help, just to help. But I started getting these positive reviews. People will write me on my inbox. They'll inbox me. Wow, I watched a video on in your group. It really helped me. Parents also, I saw a resource in your group. I actually ordered and it's helping me. And I was like, so it went from that to that to that to where we are today. So where are we today? We are currently putting our learning center together. It's going to run in Cameroon, in Douala, if you know Douala. Douala is the economic capital of Cameroon. And we want to start a learning center, and then we will also have an early intervention, an early autism intervention unit, almost like a clinic, but we want to have an intervention unit where children who have been diagnosed will come to us. Then we could do speech therapy, behavior therapy, academic interventions. Those are the three. And these are services that are really costly. Yeah, it's really costly. So we are hoping that we would be able, or we would have people that can really sponsor the program. That way we can equip the center. One of the problems that they also face is, because of fear, they have this gross motor
Mm-hmm.
struggle, like
Mm-hmm.
to ride a bike, to kick a ball. And so we really want to have an intervention unit where we would have like um a sensory room. We would have a speech therapy room. We would have a behavior intervention um, desk. We would also have an academic one-on-one session, like they do with like the RPTs do. They have like a one-on-one session,
Yes.
and this service is not cheap. It's not cheap. So
So
we hope
where can people donate?
that.
Let the listeners
So
and the listeners and the viewers tell them where we can donate to help your cause.
okay, yeah, to donate, we've not set an account just yet.
Okay.
We are still trying to get things done legally. So we want to finish with our registration and be sure that when people give their money, we give an account of what we've done with the money. So that is why we want to get to a point where we are registered, we have a site, and we've started, like we are actually running the programs. Then people can come in and donate. But aside from that, when the construction of our site begins next year, June. And I think at that point, we may need some donations to maybe complete the site on time, because this is something that we really need to, we want to do it really fast. That way, children who are currently going through and parents who are currently struggling can bring their kids in. So next year, our construction begins next year, and the only time that we would really want people to help us is to help us complete our site on time. But for now, we intend to run, we have a program coming up in September before schools resume. During that time, we would also need like donations, but we are not yet sure. We want to be very sure that everything is done in a very, like, there's accountability. Like, this person gave $1. Where did the dollar go? What did we do with it? So we want to get, and there are a lot of scammers out there. They would want to.
You want to get your book straight. Straight.
Yeah, we want to get it straight. So since 3 years now, we did a couple of we carried out a couple of projects last year with our own money, and it was not easy, but the little that we had, we really did something with it. And we are not in a rush to ask people to come in and donate or to help us. This is something that we want to do even with our own salary. I want to do it even with my own money. I want to do it. So whether donations come in or no donations, it will be done.
Okay,
but donations will only come in to speed up things.
So right now, everything's to be continued, right? So
but if we have but if we have to ask for any extra help, I'll let you know.
Yes.
But that aside,
so how can we educate the people? Because right now I want for our listeners and our viewers watching this on YouTube, I want them to be educated in your program. I want your program to bloom, to boom, to people can support you, find you, follow you. Where can we reach you?
Okay, yeah. So currently we have a Facebook page, Future Ark Learning Center, and under Future Ark Learning Center we operate a little bit of other things, like we have Future Ark Learning Center, Jet Jobs and Careers, Future Ark Learning Center, Jet Job Careers and Promo. We have Deep Self, we have Global Writers, and it's a lot. And the whole idea
when it comes out on YouTube, I'll have below the description all your information there. So anybody who wants to go on to YouTube or go on the website and down, all the description will be down there. So all you have to do is
Future, Future Ark Learning Center. We are on YouTube, on Facebook. We are also on TikTok, Instagram. But we are still, like, that is just like a preview of our social media, because we are currently trying to get things really done professionally. Remember, I told you this was just something that we just wanted to do it for just, but it's gotten to a point where we really want to reach out, and we want to reach out as professionals. So our social media is there. We are on Facebook, we are on Instagram, we are also on Twitter, and we are on YouTube and TikTok. Check it out, Future Ark Learning Center. Just type Future Ark Learning Center and you get to us. But that is like a preview of our social media, because we are currently trying to get our website done, to do like a remaking of our Facebook and every other thing. That way our customers or people who come to us can easily access us. So if you want to support us for now, so if you want to support us for now, like, share, comment, just tell people about Future Ark Learning Center and then join. We have Teacherpreneur group where we share a lot of we share teacher resources. Then we also share business tips, like we take videos, like random videos around, like yours. We could share yours on, and people watch and maybe get ideas on how they can do business digitally on site. And yeah,
Yes,
so
yes, yes. Now, before we go, tell the people one more time where you're from, because I know there's a lot of people from your culture living in the United States here that can actually help you and further your program and help your community.
okay. I am from Cameroon, West Africa. My tribe, we am from the Gembas, Mungamba. So my village is Bambili. I'm from Bambili, and I'm currently in Abu Dhabi. I work in Abu Dhabi, and hopefully, not long from now, I'll go back home. I have to go back home so that I can help from home, because helping from home is, it's gonna touch more lives than what I'm
Yes.
doing here, you know. So I really want to go back home, and if people can help us realize our site on time, I would really appreciate it. I would really, our site construction kicks off next year June. So if people can really help us to realize that project fast, I would really be grateful. So our email address is futurearklearningcenter@gmail.com. That is our lone email address that you can reach us. So,
Well, there you go, guys. Follow, share, and support this great cause. Thank you once again for being on the show.
thank you.
This is a honor, a pleasure, a much needed conversation. And like I said, follow her, check her out, and support. Thank you for being on the show.
Yeah.
Peace.
And I just want to say you are a great parent, and never forget that you are a great parent. Don't stop supporting your son.
Thank you.
Support him, give him all the support that he needs.
Thank you so much.
Till we talk again next time. Bye-bye.
Bye, guys.